to my dreams.
Good morning, YouTube. All right. Business Express 98.1 FM with ARM Securities about to blast off for a Tuesday, February the 1st, new month. Yes, indeed.
We're good.
We are. It's a shame I can't talk about Rihanna being pregnant. There's no business angle to that. We'll leave that alone, but that's big news. It's big news.
Okay, you ready? We're ready.
Yeah, we're ready. Let's do it.
Smooth 98.1, love music, love life. Welcome. If you just joined us, you're just in time. It's time for Business Express 981. My name is Kayode Bakerr. And of course, Rotus is going to be leading us through the conversations this morning. Business Express is brought to you by ARM. Good morning, guys.
Yes, indeed. Good morning. And good morning to you, Kayode, to our listeners, and to Mustapha Alao, analyst with ARM Securities. Mustapha, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Rotus. Good morning.
Good morning,
everyone.
Mustapha.
Yeah. Good morning.
All right. Great to have you, Mustapha. So let's jump right in. Subsidies, it never ends. The topic on fuel subsidies and the 180-degree turn from the federal government. Moody's Investor Service, the ratings agency, they said that the policy reversal on fuel subsidies illustrates Nigeria's weak institutions and limited capacity to implement challenging reforms. Mustapha, what do you make of that assessment?
Yes, I mean, to be honest, that just puts it succinctly. That's spot on by Moody's there, and it just speaks to the reality of, where we currently stand in Nigeria. The oil subsidies are quite costly, and they've been historically been a key driver for Nigeria's significant fiscal deficits, and they've accelerated deterioration in public finances. So it speaks to the weak will to make those strong changes to move forward. Fuel subsidies in Nigeria, they are really high, about 1.8 trillion naira annually, according to the declaration, the latest one by the NNPC. And that is nearly combined the budget of Ministry of Works, the Health Ministry, the Housing Ministry, which is covering water resources, transports, power, works and housing. And ironically, the Nigerian subsidy regime is notoriously corrupt in that it serves vested interests that benefits the common citizens, which you would expect would be the case. The NNPC spoke about how about 42 million, or at least over 40 million of the 102 million liters of subsidized petrol for Nigerians' daily consumption is smuggled out of the country, because we have our neighbors who sell closer to a cost-reflective price. So Nigeria's PMS, which is the petrol, which is a lot more subsidized than all these following all these West African countries. We have arbitrage whereby people take the petrol here at a cheap cost and go sell it at these neighboring countries, and make that money out of it. So this is the situation that we find ourselves. And despite us knowing in theory, on paper, that listen, this is costing us a lot of money and we need to take it out, we just don't have the will to do it, because there are some realities in place, which is we do not have fiscal buffers put in place for the Nigerian citizen to survive. If we really do have a cost-reflective price at the pumps, at our Totals, at our Mobiles, at our Owandos, at our Conoils, Nigerians will find it really hard to survive. Inflation is going to go up really high, core inflation. So these are the realities that, they do think about it before they announce. But like I said, it's a lot easier, writing it on paper and doing it in theory than to actually implement it, especially considering the times that we are in, which is a pre-election year.
Thank you for that, Mustapha.
Real quick, let me just put it out there. If you want to be a part of this conversation this morning, we're streaming live on YouTube, so you can catch the feed. It's youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. And also, please send your messages to 0809-444-0981. That's our WhatsApp number. Messages already in from Benga Kamu and MC Annie, but go on, Rotus.
Yeah, so Mustapha, what does this mean for the petroleum industry bill, which was signed into law August of last year? What does that mean now?
Well, the August 2021 Petroleum Industry Bill, which was signed into law, because the industry bill, it contains a lot more than just the subsidy removal. However, the subsidy removal is something that is quite paramount and very much at the forefront of the minds of Nigerians when we speak about the PIB, right? But now, with this change, brought forth with this decision to delay this by 18 months and so on and so forth, the government, they will have to, amend that law to reflect the decision to delay this removal of the oil subsidies, and they'll have to propose a supplementary budget that provides provides for the oil subsidies beyond June 2022. These speak to the realities of what is on ground, and it's one of the reasons why Moody's came out and they said what they said. We just don't have that infrastructure in place in order to make these strong decisions. And to be quite honest, the ARMs in the ARM research team, this was our we're very strong in terms of our expectation that this implementation of the removal of the oil subsidies were going to be delayed, just because the realities just don't support it. We could say that you could look at the fact that the current dispensation, which is the current administration and the party, they're rounding up. Oh, so this could be a reason for the current administration to say, you know what, yeah, I don't have much to lose. I'm leaving. We've done 8 years. So if there's a time to remove the subsidy and not, and be blind and deaf to the cries of Nigerians, at least for the short term, now will be the time. But we've seen that that's not the case. And if a new dispensation should come in now, it might not be something that they might want to begin with. So in terms of how this will amend the law, and how a supplementary budget will need to be proposed, these are the sort of things that negatively impacts Nigeria's credit rating, across the agencies, Fitch, S&Ps, and so on and so forth.
And Mustapha, the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, on that point, on ratings agencies, on another point, they say that the decision will adversely affect investments in Nigeria's downstream sector. What do you make of that assessment?
Yes, just generally, across the world, wherever sectors whereby you find that it is regulated, it's not something that is a positive point for investors, really, for foreign investors, because they look at it and they see that, oh, there's a lot of uncertainty here. The government has a strong hand to play. It's not a free market. If I put my money, how do I know what I'm going to get out of it? So all those uncertainties are things that sort of push investors away. And if you look at the downstream sector, you're talking about the oil marketers, the people whereby you go and buy your petrol from at the pump price, right? And you're also looking at refineries, and if you recall, Nigeria, they gave out this marginal refineries licenses to a lot of people. They gave it to about 27 people. I can't remember the exact number, but about that. And out of that number, we had very few, not up to 20%, not up to 30% of the licenses that were given us were being implemented on. We had maybe the Dangote refinery, was ongoing construction. So only about 4 or 5 of them were either ongoing construction or had completed construction. So what does that say? That says that a lot of these investors who buy these marginal refinery licenses, they are not sure of the profits or the money they're going to make at the gates of their refineries. And that's the reason why they don't want to go ahead and utilize their licenses and build these refineries. So now that we have last year, the government coming out and said that, the full deregulation of the downstream sector is going to stop being something that we tag as a moving target. It's going to be something that we're going to actually hit, and then coming now and basically doing a U-turn now is going to just further fuel those uncertainties in the minds of investors, and it's not going to be good news ultimately for the Nigerian downstream sector, just like any other sector, if these sort of things are happening in them.
All right, real quick though, let's get to some of the messages. By the way, thank you so much for that, Mustapha. This one from MC Annie. MC Annie comes in real quick to say, is this subsidy not the biggest scam of this administration? How is there any subsidy? What subsidy is paid to who? NNPC operates DSDP for about 400,000 barrels of crude oil per day, where they are appointed to trader groupings. And he further says, except one is missing in this simple trade and barter. It's just basically simple trade and barter. It'll be good for the National Assembly to have clarifications on this. And Benga Kamo comes in to say, it's a political suicide for the APC to remove subsidies on fuel at this time. I knew they will kick down the road. Don't envy Buhari's successors. And Gilbert Musa comes in to say, good morning, guys. Your guest has said it all. Removal of subsidy is not the challenge as such, but the will to do proper implementation, such as the buffers realized from the removal, are people and development oriented, where the average Nigerian citizen can feel the positive effect in the long run. And Yinka Bolu comes in to say, the issue with the NNPC on this whole subsidy matter is when I read things like NNPC spending 100 billion in 2021 on refinery maintenance. I'm like, which one? And why are we still paying for subsidy? So those are the questions right there from our listeners. What are your thoughts?
But Mustapha, I just really, because we only have a minute to go, can you touch on the resistance? And thank you to everybody that sent those messages. Really appreciate you all sending those messages in. Mustapha, in a minute or less, the labor unions and I guess some working class Nigerians want the subsidies to stay in place. So is that a failure of messaging to convince them? Quickly, if you can.
Well, to be honest, Nigerians have a huge trust deficit between themselves and the governments. And the resultant increase in petroleum prices that would accompany a subsidy removal would trigger public backlash. Just like in any other country. I mean, we saw something similar in, I believe, Tunisia, So, and that is going to be an unwanted outcome for the, incumbent political parties, especially during campaigns or in a pre-election year. So there's that trust deficit there, because we talk about, I mean, just like the person who sent the message recently just mentioned, we've been spending so much over the years on refineries. What's the result? If you have a historical trend of not delivering when you decide to make Nigerians make sacrifices, Nigerians are not going to trust you. So when you have the labor union coming out like that, it's like, okay, yeah, water is words. I mean, that's exactly what they're going to do. So there's that trust is just not there.
All right.
Mustapha Alao, analyst with ARM Securities. Thank you so much. I also want to take this time to remind everybody of ARM Stock Trade, www.armstocktrade.com, allowing you to buy securities on the Nigerian Stock Exchange through the ARM platform conveniently on your phone. Mustapha, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. And thanks to everybody for their messages as well. Kayode, appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Rotus. Thank you so much, Mustapha. Lagos, there's more to come. Don't forget, this is Business Express brought to you by ARM. In a few more minutes, it's going to be time for Freshly Pressed 981. So please stay with us.